In a world where speaking the truth can cost you everything, sometimes justice comes dressed in silence and returns with power. This is the story of a woman who lost her job for standing up and came back as the one thing her boss never expected, his superior. She didn't speak when she walked in. She didn't have to. The heels on her boots echoed down the marble hallway of Miltech Global's Chicago headquarters like a war drum. She wore black, not because she was in mourning, but because she was the storm. The receptionist who once ignored her now stood up fast, almost startled, trying to smile. "Good morning, Miss Johnson," she said, but Ava didn't slow down. Her stride was steady, unbothered, deliberate. She wasn't here to reclaim a title. She was here to reclaim the truth. A truth that had been silenced, stomped on, and swept under the rug. But like fire trapped under pressure, Ava Johnson had returned. And she wasn't asking for permission anymore. 5 months ago, she sat in that same building with a badge clipped to her hip and fire burning in her chest. She was a senior project manager then, leading teams that built platforms responsible for generating millions in revenue. Her team loved her. Clients praised her. But in the boardroom, Ava was treated like a footnote. Her ideas were either ignored or repeated by someone else louder and paler. Her silence wasn't a weakness. It was a strategy. Because when you're the only black woman in the room, your voice has weight. Every syllable, every breath, every pause. But on the day she decided to speak, the weight turned into a weapon they used against her. The meeting was about quarterly performance, but Ava had done her own analysis. She stayed up nights reviewing datasets HR thought no one paid attention to: employee raises, promotions, bonuses. She noticed something, a pattern. Black employees, especially women, consistently received lower raises, fewer promotions, and were more likely to be placed on performance review. The numbers didn't lie. The problem wasn't perception. It was policy, unspoken, systemic, and deliberate. So she brought it up. She didn't raise her voice. She raised the truth. She said, "There's a pattern here that shows racial and gender disparities in how we promote and reward talent. I'd like to propose a solution." The air left the room like someone had punched it. Richard Delaney, the CEO, leaned forward slowly, lips tight, smile tighter. He didn't look at the charts. He didn't ask for clarification. He said, "Ava, with all due respect, this isn't the time for social justice lectures. We're trying to move this company forward, not backward." She looked him dead in the eye and said, "Addressing inequality isn't moving backward, sir. It's catching up." She was escorted out 2 days later. No meeting, no warning, just an HR email saying her position was being phased out. The same position that was reposted 3 days later under a different title with the same responsibilities. They didn't even bother to change the job description. That night, she sat in her small apartment staring at the ceiling. Her mother called. She didn't tell her the truth at first. Said she was transitioning. Said it was mutual. But Mama knew better. "They let you go because you made them uncomfortable," she said. "They want our rhythm, but not our voice. Don't ever let them convince you to swallow your own truth." Ava started writing. Not for a paycheck, not for applause, but because writing became the only place where she didn't have to make herself smaller. She wrote about what it was like to be hypervisible and invisible at the same time, about being overqualified and underheard. Her posts spread like wildfire on LinkedIn. Comments flooded in. "Thank you for saying what we couldn't. You spoke my truth. I thought I was alone." She wasn't alone. None of them were. They were just isolated in offices designed to gaslight them into silence. One day, she got a message. Short, direct, from someone named Clarice Fontaine. It read, "Miss Johnson, I've been following your writing. I think we should talk." Clarice wasn't just anyone. She was the vice president at Fulton Equity, a powerful Black-owned investment firm known for acquiring companies and restructuring their leadership from the inside out. When Ava called, Clarice got straight to the point. "We're finalizing the acquisition of Miltech Global," she said. "We're going to remove the current CEO, and we need an interim leader who knows the culture, the systems, and more importantly, the truth." Ava didn't speak for a few seconds. "You want me to go back?" "No," Clarice said. "We want you to go forward, with power." Ava accepted, and now, she stood in the same elevator where she once stood with lowered eyes and clipped smiles, rising floor by floor until she hit the top, the executive suite. The doors opened. Silence greeted her, but it wasn't the silence of dismissal. It was the silence of stunned recognition. Executives turned. Some gasped. Richard Delaney looked up from his laptop and froze. Ava walked into the boardroom like it belonged to her, because now it did. "Good morning," she said. "Let's begin." Richard blinked. "What's going on?" Clarice entered behind her, calm and composed. "This is Ava Johnson, your new interim CEO." Richard stood. "Interim CEO? You're joking." "I don't joke about leadership," Clarice said. He looked at Ava, his voice brittle. "This is a hostile takeover." "No," Ava said. "This is a necessary correction." The room stayed frozen as Clarice handed out documentation. Shareholder votes, board approvals, all signed, all sealed. Ava wasn't a visitor. She was the future. She turned to Richard. "You have until 3 p.m. to vacate your office." He didn't speak, just clenched his jaw and stormed out. That was the easy part. What followed were the hard days, the days of rolling up her sleeves and digging out years of rot. She didn't just rearrange desks. She dismantled dysfunction. She called for full pay audits. She restored the jobs of employees who were unfairly terminated. She launched a review board made up of diverse staff members with power to veto executive decisions that didn't align with equity policies. She gave voice to the voiceless. Some hated her for it. Whispered words like angry, emotional, unprofessional. But she smiled through it all because she knew the truth. Power never likes to be redistributed, and privilege hates accountability. She didn't work late to impress. She worked late to heal. One evening, as she was leaving, the janitor stopped her. "You don't know me," he said, "but I saw what they did to you. I told my daughter about you. She wants to be just like you." Ava's voice cracked. "Tell her to be better. Tell her to build something bigger than this." She stayed for 6 months, not because she had to, but because she owed it to every quiet employee still watching, still afraid to speak. And when she finally stepped down, she didn't leave quietly. She left a letter on every desk that IT said, "Don't be afraid to make them uncomfortable." Sometimes the truth has sharp edges, but dull silence never changed anything. Use your voice. Stand tall. And when they shut you out of the room, build your own building. Fulton Equity offered her a permanent position. She declined. Instead, she founded the Table Project, an organization dedicated to training and funding Black women in business leadership. She didn't want a seat at their table anymore. She wanted to build tables so wide, no one got left standing. A year later, she gave a speech at a university commencement. She looked out at a sea of young, ambitious faces, some who had already experienced the sting of being silenced. She said, "They fired me because I told the truth. They thought that the truth would die in a folder marked terminated. But the thing about truth is, it doesn't expire. It multiplies. It finds microphones. It finds stages. It finds new leaders like you." So the next time someone tells you to shrink to fit their comfort, ask yourself, who benefits from your silence? And then speak anyway. The crowd stood as a young woman came up after the speech, tears in her eyes. "I watched everything you did," she said. "Because of you, I started speaking up at work, and they promoted me." Ava hugged her and whispered, "Now go promote someone else." Because legacy wasn't about titles. It was about impact. And Ava Johnson had become a storm. So fierce, not even termination could stop her. They thought they ended her story, but they only gave her a better pen. She never wanted revenge. She wanted justice. And when she walked back into that building, she didn't need their approval. She was the approval. She didn't ask for the seat. She built the chair. And when the boardroom turned to stare, the only thing she said was, "I'm not back for vengeance. I'm back for balance." The day after Richard Delaney left the building for good, Ava sat alone in the corner office he once occupied. She didn't sit in the chair behind the desk right away. She walked the room slowly, touching the glass windows, examining the framed awards, looking at the way the light hit the leather chairs. It wasn't the office itself that felt heavy. It was what it represented. The same man who told her she was too vocal, too disruptive, too much. This had been his throne. And now, the view belonged to her. But she didn't come for the view. She came to change what was behind the walls. She didn't redecorate. She gutted it. Removed every portrait that reinforced hierarchy. Replaced them with a photo of her grandmother standing in front of a bus stop in Montgomery in 1964. That photo stayed right behind her head, so everyone who sat across from her knew. She came from women who weren't afraid to wait for justice. Even if it took decades. That first week, the emails poured in. Executives asking for private meetings. People wanting to align, wanting to smooth things over. But Ava had already decided. This wasn't going to be a tour of forgiveness. This was a reckoning. She didn't want their apologies. She wanted change. She summoned every department head for individual meetings. No group shields. No place to hide. She asked each of them 3 questions. What have you done to make this company equitable? What have you ignored? What will you do differently now that I'm sitting here? Some stumbled. Some lied. Some cried. She let them. But she wrote everything down. One white executive, Paul, tried to play it cool. Said he always supported diversity. Said he had mentored 2 black associates. Ava asked for names. He couldn't remember them. She dismissed him with 5 words. Intent doesn't equal impact. Paul. He never returned for the second meeting. HR was the first department she restructured. She knew that's where the culture of silence lived. HR didn't stand for human resources in most companies. It stood for hide and retain. They hid complaints, retained toxicity, protected power. She replaced the entire leadership of that division within 2 weeks. Hired professionals who had backgrounds in racial equity and trauma-informed employee relations. She established a new code of conduct that required every leader to go through cultural humility training. Not just once, quarterly. Required. The board wasn't thrilled, but Ava didn't report to them anymore. Fulton Equity had given her executive authority. The board could watch, but they couldn't stop her. One of the biggest changes she made was the equity index. Every manager was now evaluated not just on performance metrics, but on how equitably they treated their team. How many people they promoted, who got raises, who got left behind. If your score was low, your bonus was gone. Period. She didn't just talk about equity. She put a price on it, and people started paying attention. One morning, Ava arrived to find a note on her desk. No name, just a folded slip of paper that read, "Thank you. I've worked here for 6 years. This is the first time I've felt like I mattered." She carried that note in her wallet. Around the same time, an article was published in Forbes titled, "The Black Woman Who Rebuilt a Broken Company." It described her leadership as disruptive in the best way. It celebrated her data-driven approach to justice. It quoted employees who said the company finally felt safe. A week later, she got a message from a familiar name, Richard Delaney, that he had seen the article. He requested a meeting, said he wanted to clear the air. She didn't know him that, but she granted it. He walked in with less confidence than she remembered. Maybe it was age, or shame, or just the weight of no longer being in control. He sat across from her, eyes low. "I just wanted to say, I didn't see it before," he said. "I didn't realize how much harm I caused." Ava listened, not because she needed his apology, but because she wanted to see if he could even recognize what he'd done. "I made decisions based on what I thought was best for the company," he continued. She interrupted. "No, you made decisions based on what was best for you." He looked stunned. She leaned forward. "You used your comfort as a compass. And people like me paid the price for it." He nodded, slowly. "I understand now." She stood. "I don't need you to understand. I need you to remember, and never lead again without this in your mind." That was the last time she saw him. The company continued to evolve. She started mentorship programs pairing interns with senior leaders, not just for experience, but for visibility. She launched an internal podcast called Voices at the Table, where employees shared stories anonymously about what they'd endured and how things were changing. And she made those stories required listening. One episode featured a black administrative assistant who recalled being mistaken for a janitor for 3 years. Another was about a South Asian software engineer who trained 3 white men who all became his boss. These stories weren't diversity moments. They were living proof. Ava believed that transformation wasn't in policies. It was in people. One day, she walked past the cafeteria and noticed a small crowd. Employees were standing around a table, watching something on someone's phone. She walked over. They were watching a video of her speech at a recent leadership conference. Someone had uploaded it online. In the video, Ava said, "They told me to be grateful for crumbs, but I wanted the recipe. I didn't want to be fed. I wanted to learn how to cook. And once I learned, I started feeding others." The room was silent as they watched. One young woman whispered, she's really doing it. Ava turned and walked away, heart full, because the goal was never to impress. It was to awaken. After 6 months, Fulton Equity gave her the choice to stay on permanently or transition out. She chose transition because her work wasn't tied to a title. She trained her successor, a brilliant Afro-Caribbean woman who had worked in silence for too long. She promoted her with full support, handed over the keys, and left on her own. Terms that on her last day, the company surprised her with a gathering in the atrium. No speeches. Just every employee holding a candle. The lights dimmed, and one by one, people stepped up to say how her leadership changed their lives. One man, a middle manager, said he used to be afraid to speak up about his mental health struggles. But Ava's policies gave him safety. And now he leads the Employee Wellness Initiative. A young Latina engineer said she was about to quit the company until Ava stepped in. Now she's been promoted twice and leads a team of 12. A janitor, a receptionist, a finance analyst. They all spoke. They didn't talk about her resume. They talked about how she made them feel seen, heard, protected. When the lights came back on, Ava spoke. Leadership, she said, is not about who follows you. It's about who stands taller. Because of you. That night, she walked out of the building with no regrets. Because she hadn't just changed policies, she had shifted culture. She had healed spaces. She had taken the pain of being fired for truth and turned it into a movement. After leaving Miltech Global, Ava Johnson disappeared from the public eye for a while. No interviews, no press tours, no corporate advisory roles. People speculated she was taking a break. Some said she was writing a book. But what Ava was doing couldn't be measured in press clippings. She was building something, quietly, intentionally, from the ground up. A leadership institute in Atlanta dedicated to the elevation of Black women across industries. Not just for tech, not just for business, but for healthcare, education, politics, art, and law. Because Ava understood something most people didn't. When one Black woman rises, the world calls it exceptional. When we rise together, they call it a revolution. The building was small at first. A 3-story brick structure nestled between a local college and a daycare. No gold plaques, no luxury lobby, just walls covered with quotes from ancestors and a room full of dreams. She named it the Table Institute because for so long, Black women were told to wait for a seat at someone else's table. Ava was done waiting. She was building new ones, sturdier ones. Ones where voices didn't just echo, they were heard. Applications poured in from all over the country. Young women who had been passed over for promotions. Mothers trying to re-enter the workforce. Veterans with degrees, but no opportunities. They all came to learn from the woman who had once been fired for speaking the truth and had turned that truth into power. Her curriculum was different. She didn't teach resumes first. She taught resistance. She didn't teach interviews first. She taught identity. She wanted these women to know who they were before they sat in front of anyone else's desk. Because too many times, Black women were taught to dilute themselves to fit. Ava wanted them to expand. She taught them how to read contracts, how to negotiate, how to say no with their chest, how to build networks that didn't rely on assimilation. She brought in guest mentors, judges, journalists, entrepreneurs, and elders who had lived the struggle and survived it. One of her first students was a single mother named Layla. She had worked in customer service for 8 years and had never been promoted. She thought something was wrong with her. After 6 weeks at the table, Layla walked into a job interview and said, "I'm not here to prove I belong. I'm here to partner with your purpose." She got the job, and within 3 months, she was managing a team of 15. Stories like that multiplied. Ava never bragged about it, but people noticed. Fast Company ran a feature called The Woman Who Taught Black Women to Stop Shrinking. Essence called her a new blueprint. Oprah invited her for a private interview. Ava said no, not out of disrespect, but because she was focused. She didn't want to become a celebrity. She wanted to become a seed, something that would bloom in every woman she reached. One day, she received a letter in the mail, handwritten, slanted cursive. It read, "My name is Jeanette Delaney. I'm Richard's sister. I saw what my brother did to you. I want to apologize on behalf of my family, and I want to thank you for showing him and all of us what real leadership looks like. He's not the same, and neither am I." Ava sat with that letter for a long time. She didn't cry, but her chest felt tight. not from bitterness, but from release. Because sometimes, healing doesn't come from the people who hurt you, but from the people watching how you rise despite them. Years passed. The Table Institute grew. She expanded into Detroit, then DC, then Oakland. She created scholarships, hosted conferences, started a podcast called Unbought and Unbossed, named after Shirley Chisholm's famous declaration. And then one day, she returned to Chicago, not to visit, but to testify. She was invited by the city council to speak on workplace equity legislation that could hold companies financially accountable for patterns of racial and gender discrimination. She sat at the witness table, wearing the same black suit she wore the day she walked out of Miltech Global for the last time as CEO. She looked the same, but she felt different, full, healed, unapologetic. She began her testimony not with data, but with a story. She told them about a woman who once sat in a boardroom and spoke the truth, about how that truth cost her a job, but birthed a movement. She ended with this: you can fire a person, but you can't fire a purpose. You can silence a voice, but you can't erase an echo. And when Black women lead, we don't just change policy, we change possibilities. The bill passed unanimously. That night, as she stood outside the chamber, a young staffer approached her. She was shaking. "I used to work at Miltech," she said. "I watched everything you did. I watched you walk in that building like you were made for it. Because of you, I applied for grad school. Because of you, I speak up when things are wrong. You don't know me, but you saved me." Ava hugged her tightly. "I do know you," she whispered. "You're me, 10 years ago." Because the truth was, Ava didn't become a leader when she became CEO. She became a leader the day she refused to shrink. She didn't become powerful when she got a title. She became powerful the moment she chose to stand. And that's what they never understood. They thought leadership came from offices and stock options. But real leadership? It comes from conviction, from courage, from choosing truth even when it costs you everything. Ava Johnson lost a job, but gained a mission. They pushed her out, but she walked back in. And this time, the door stayed open behind her. Because legacy isn't what you build for yourself. It's what you leave standing for those coming next. The next time someone underestimates you, remember Ava. The next time someone fires you for speaking the truth, remember Ava. The next time you're told to wait your turn, shrink your voice, stay silent to stay safe. Remember Ava, and speak anyway. Because justice delayed isn't justice denied. And the table always turns. The question is, will you be standing when it does? She was, she still is, and now, so are we. Don't ever let them make you small for standing tall. Speak your truth, because what they use to break you might be the same thing that crowns you. Like, comment, and subscribe for more stories of justice, truth, and power from behind the scene.